everybody, I'm Delicia and thanks for tuning into the Cigar Vixen channel. So today I'm going to be reviewing one of the cigars that I brought back with me from this year's trade show. As promised, I know I've been a little bit late in reviewing some of the cigars from the trade show. Reason being is summer's finally kind of coming to an end and I have had since June a lot of unexpected company. Being that I film at home, it's difficult to do cigar reviews when I have a house full of people. So now that is finally I'm hoping for a little bit come to an end. I love having people over, but at the same time, it's tough to stay on top of work and things that I need to do, including reviewing these lovely cigars. So this is I believe this is the first one that I've done from the show, sadly, but here we go. This is gonna be the first of many, God willing, to come in the form of a review. I'm taking a look at the Protocol Eliot Ness. This is part of their Lawman series. It's a really cool idea. Of course, it started first with I don't know if it started first with it, but this one seems to be more of like the follow-up from the Sir Robert Peel, of course, in the natural and the Maduro. I have done a review of that cigar. I featured it many times on my weekly top 5. It's a beautiful cigar meant to pay homage and tribute to the father of modern day law enforcement, modern day policing. And so now the follow-up cigar to that one is the Eliot Ness, which naturally I don't think needs a formal introduction. I think most people know who Eliot Ness is, but just in case you're not familiar, he of course was, made his fame mostly through the Prohibition era. Really the claim to fame, I think, is that he was the one to capture Al Capone. And so it's pretty cool that they pay tribute to the law enforcement side of things versus a lot of times you'll see tributes to the bad guy. And so it's cool to see a tribute to the good guy. This one, of course, looks very similar in the presentation, the box, the coloring. There are some slight differences, of course, with the band itself as far as the colors are concerned, but the availability, it comes in a natural and again, the Maduro. So today I'm taking a look at the Maduro. This cigar is handmade at the AJ Fernandez factory in Nicaragua under direct supervision of Eric Espinosa. So something a little different there. So this is cool. I love, again, all the detail to the boxes and the band, all the little coins. They all have different photographs, different cool symbols. Their meanings are just really neat. So it's kind of one of those things where I invite you to get a closer look at the box itself. Just like with the Sir Robert Peel, there was all these little coins that they had and actually did kind of like what they were calling like an Easter egg hunt within the box itself, because there was all these hidden little symbols on those coins to kind of represent different law enforcement, also just justice, different terms, and again, just kind of a cool concept that they were doing. Of course, having that background in law enforcement, it was pretty cool for them to go ahead and follow suit with that. So I'm gonna light this one up. This one is a nice little box pressed baby here. Has a very potent aroma right off the bat. Borderline ammonia. I don't like to use that word often because it's usually a negative connotation, usually coming from tobacco that hasn't been necessarily fermented long enough. I don't feel like that's what's going on here. I just think it has a little bit more of that trace of that little remnant of the ammonia, but it's more so like giving that barnyard kind of element to it. So that's kind of like that combination. That's just on the nose of it, of course. And this is a different review than others. Normally I have several of the cigars to smoke, not the case here. And I mentioned that when I came back from the PCA trade show that there wasn't a tremendous amount of samples that were handed out at that time. So I was planning on waiting until I received a box of these so that I could smoke a few of them and do a full review that way, which I may end up doing that for the natural. But I just figured I would smoke this one. This is basically almost like a blind cigar review because I'm smoking it today for the first time and I'm doing so on camera with you guys watching. So all of the notes are gonna be just kind of off the top of my head, whatever's coming through, and kind of fun, kind of something a little different. So luckily that the aromas that I mentioned do not come through on that pre-lit draw. So there's zero ammonia trace in that. It was just a little bit on the wrapper. Again, that's just nosing it. That's not having to do with the overall flavor, just pulling that cold draw. It's definitely not picking that up. It's almost picking up like an anise and just like kind of a hint of spice, but more of that sweeter licorice type of flavor, just again on that cold draw. So the blend on this one, the Nicaraguan broadleaf wrapper, and then the binder is a Habano binder from Esteli. The filler is a Corojo and Jalapa and Esteli filler. So again, a Toro 6x52 box press. I believe that's the only, don't quote me on that. I should have looked into that. As right now, I think this is the only Vitola that it's offered in, but yeah, I like that they did a box pressed again. I think that this comes through very nicely in the box pressed format. And this lighter has quite the flame on it. I just filled it up and it's lethal. Gosh, that reminds me of something else. Very familiar taste. I hate when that happens to me and I can't pinpoint exactly what it's reminding me of. It just has a familiarness to it. Could just be the tobacco being used in here. So apparently this is the first Protocol cigar to be blended without any ligero. Very cool. So they're doing something a little different here. Gosh, the flavors are really good. Really good flavor and very familiar. And it's like, maybe it's something to do, it's almost reminiscent of a San Latano in a way, not like it's the same cigar or anything like that, but there's just something in the flavor of at least something used in here that has like a similar kind of like, oh, it just kind of reminds me of it a little bit. Really good. Beautiful aroma. And again, just I feel kind of bad now saying that the aroma, when I first did the nose to it, had that ammonia, because it definitely doesn't have a trace of it at all, you know, smoking it, which is great, because I kind of got worried for a second, because that's not usually a pleasant aroma, but it was just like a slight trace of it. So it wasn't anything like, oh man, this is like super ammonia. Not the case, just a little hint of it, more so in the family of like that barnyard aroma. But to me, sometimes the barnyard, you also pick up a little tiny remnant, like just a little bit of that ammonia. But again, that was just on the nose of it. It was not at all, not anything to do with the flavor. So smoking just really nicely. Again, initial flavors are just really good. You get a red like pepper, cayenne, muted though. So it's not a real spicy cayenne. It's more of, again, just that flavor of a red pepper, a little bit of cocoa. Nice woodsy element in here too. Leaning more towards cedar, but also just like a rich, very rich woodsy like flavor in here. Gosh, this is just, it's funny. It's very, again, just super familiar. I feel like I have smoked a variation of this cigar somewhere else in my life. It's gonna drive me nuts to pinpoint it. But again, the closest thing that comes to mind is like the San Latano. I haven't smoked one of those in ages, but it just, I don't know, maybe it's because that's, I was reading that that's, you know, the factory where it's being made in AJ's factory, but there's definitely, maybe it's like one leaf of tobacco that's also similar to that is just giving something that's familiar. It's not the same cigar by any means, but it just has like a very familiar kind of a nice familiarity, not like a, oh, that's super much like just like the other one. No, it's just like a very welcoming, very like, hey, I like it. Initially, and again, this is the first time that I'm smoking this cigar. So this is all just, you can kind of tell maybe from the way I'm jumping all over the place that normally I make notes when I smoke through a cigar. My normal format is I smoke a minimum of 3. The first time I just kind of smoke it, take a little bit of mental notes. The second time I actually write down notes. And then the third time I'm usually smoking it on camera. Maybe it's already past, the third time, but usually that's my typical routine for like a newer cigar that I'm doing a review of. Whereas this one, every so often I'll do it this way if I don't have a ton of samples of a certain cigar and I want to review it. But yeah, this is the first time I'm lighting this up, first time I'm smoking it, and I'm also choosing to review it at the same time. So take that with a grain of salt, because again, it's better when you've smoked a few of them so you can kind of compare and kind of look at overall like, okay, I'm getting these same flavors each time I've smoked it. It's smoking the same way, all of those elements. But for now, I decided it'd be fun. Just again, I'm behind on doing reviews from PCA trade show, I feel like. So I just thought I would jump right in, and this is the first one that I just decided to pick up. And also you guys did make some comments on the videos. This was one of them that you guys wanted to see a review of, so I figured that why not? Definitely get more of a black pepper. I didn't even do a super strong retro, just a little tiny bit on the retro, and it was like, boom, black pepper. So really nice. This is just beautiful flavor on this one. Wonderful aroma, very inviting. It's putting out a lot of smoke, but again, it's very aromatic, and really enjoying both of those elements. Again, the flavor profile as well as the aroma to it. So gonna smoke it down a little bit more, of course, and I will be checking back in right around the second third. All right, so coming in on the second third, a little before the halfway point, I guess, on the Protocol Eliot Ness. Beautiful smoke bomb. I don't know if you could really pick that up on camera, but it's just a billowing amount of beautiful aromatic smoke, which is great, especially if you are smoking outside. Smoking inside with it, it's a little heavy, but nonetheless, it's a beautiful aroma. Love it, love it, love it. Flavors are fantastic. Right now, I'm getting, again, like that kind of muted pepper, combination of black pepper and red pepper at this point. There's a bitter chocolate, so more of that cacao kind of a flavor, not the sweet chocolate, not a milk chocolate, more of like that dark, more bitter chocolate element. Really nice though. It's adding just a really easy smoking component to it, as well as a nuttiness. So there's a little bit of a thicker nutty, almost, it's not quite walnut, but it's like a heavier nut to it. I don't know if you can hear my little puppy walking through here. Hey. So good flavors. It's smoking beautifully. The draw is beautiful. Again, that smoke output is awesome. And yeah, just enjoying it. This was great. I'm glad that the first cigar I choose to review, the first literal one that I'm smoking of this particular cigar, is working out really well. It'd be a bummer if it was like the first one that I was smoking and it was terrible. Not the case at all. This is really, really tasty. Loving it, and yeah, gonna smoke it down a little bit more, and of course check back in one last time to talk about any additional flavors or anything else that jumps out at me. But so far so good. Wow, so I don't know if you can see it on camera, but like the cigar smoke is so thick that it's just kind of creating this like cloud over here. Luckily, it's very aromatic. It's a beautiful aroma. I mean, I'm super stoked. This is exactly what I was expecting when I read the blend, when I was thinking to myself earlier, like, I'm really in the mood for a good Maduro. Hit it, like hit the nail right on the head. Beautiful demonstration of blending the broadleaf on here. It's just right, right on point. So there's little dabs of earthiness, kind of subtle in the background, more so the mixture of the different peppers, but there's that underlying cocoa, again, that dark chocolate, not sweet, but just that flavor of the dark chocolate that's there. There's that little bit of woodsiness that was there in the beginning, kind of crept back in towards this final third. There's also just that hint of nuttiness. So lots of nice little elements going on the flavor profile here. I'm also using my cool little Stick the Stick toy. This was my favorite accessory that I brought back from PCA Trade Show. Again, you can find this. I'll provide the link below for the Stick the Stick little toy. I also used that lighter that was in my little case and the cutter. So I used all three of those cool accessories from Stick the Stick, but really coming in convenient. Look at this beautiful way, and there's no smoke coming anywhere else from this other than exactly where I want it to be. So this is a cool little accessory to add to your collection. Beautiful billowing smoke, very aromatic, beautiful deliverance of flavor profile on this guy here. A+, I love it. This is a great cigar, beautiful follow-up to the Sir Robert Peel. Again, the Eliot Ness, and you should be able to find these now. I believe they've already started shipping out. It is a $12 stick, but well worth it, made incredibly well, and again, beautiful flavor profile coming straight out of Protocol's lineup. So hats off to them, and hopefully you've had a chance to smoke it or it's on your lineup for things that you are planning on smoking. And as always, I thank you so much for tuning in, and I can't wait to see you next time. Cheers.